Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your patience. My name is David Naiman. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Board of Elections, and I'm calling our April 15, 2024 meeting to order. We have 5 board members. We have 5 board members who are here in the room at the Board of Elections office. We have 2 board members who were not able to be here in person. You can see Ami Hober is joining us online. I believe that Kina Onion will be doing so as well. Our first order of business is for the 5 of us to be sworn in as the Board of Canvassers for the 2024 presidential elections. I should mention that Ami and Kina, being the diligent board members that they are, have already been sworn in. They went to the clerk's office in order to do that. So now it's for us, the 5 of us, and for our board attorney, Kevin Karpinski, to be sworn in. We'd like to welcome the clerk of the court, Karen Bushel, and thank you for being here with us. And we are, I think we are ready whenever you are. Should we? Let's all go next to the flags here, and I'm going to turn off my my microphone here.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'm going to say I, and then each of you will state your name. I
David Naiman,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of
execute the office of
Board of Canvassers
Board of Canvassers
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of the state,
and laws of this state,
and that I will canvass
and that I will canvass
and declare the votes cast truthfully,
and declare the votes cast truthfully,
and will perform all other duties as required by law.
and perform all other duties as required by law.
Congratulations.
Want me to sign the book?
Yeah.
Everybody, don't go back to your seats yet.
You'll get to it. Yep. You don't have to picture us.
You?
Force beat me to it. You're welcome.
Thank you for trying. My bad.
The team effort, please.
I'm sorry.
I said it was a
And team effort, great.
Thank you so much.
It only took me 5 minutes to forget to follow my own instructions, right? So.
Happens to the best of us, right? You said that. Thank you. Party. That concludes my business. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a good
One
day.
second, turn it on.
Okay, everyone. So I've already called the meeting to order and declared a quorum present. As far as remarks go, the first thing I'd like to do is to express the board's condolences to, we had a member of the staff who passed away. His name is Sammy Pearson. He was a trainer for us since 2018 and all the elections since then. And we are very sorry and express our condolences to his family. And appreciate his service to us over those years. He was signed up to help us for this election as well. So he had planned to continue. We will try to do our best to move on. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, I don't see any. Let me. Well, actually, I'll explain what we're going to do a little bit later. Are there any campaign contributions that people need to disclose at this time? Okay, I see none. So we will move on. Now, I'm about to call on our election director, Boris Brajkovic, for his report. We're doing something a little different today than we've done in the past. We invited both party central committees, all the candidates and campaigns, in addition to the general public, to be here to hear on the report for the upcoming election. The idea was for everybody to hear the same information at the same time. And then after Boris finishes with his report, and the presentation about the primary election, we will take questions. I'm going to start with the people in the room because it'll just be easier. If you are going to ask a question in the room, we're going to ask you to come to the board table and to sit in between Lisa and Margie over here to my right. Please keep in mind that whether you are in the room or whether you are online, that the questions are meant to be questions, not political statements. If they are political statements, we will have to cut you off because if there's any place where a political statement is not appropriate, the Board of Elections is probably it, since we run the elections themselves. But we do want to answer any questions about the elections, the setup, etc. And I will say that before I go to people in the room, I will go to members. So although I'm sure board members understand that we have all these visitors, so we're not going to mostly. We're not going to go into intricate detail about with our questions because we want to give a chance for our invited guests to ask their questions. And I want to thank everybody who's here for being here and turn it over to Boris.
Okay. Are we good now? Not yet. Okay.
Oh, good.
So I will go very briefly through the director's report and focus on presentation that was prepared for today's meeting. Director's report follows the same standard form as it for the previous elections. Draft minutes for the March 18th board meeting were distributed to the board on April 15th. The agenda was shared with the board and posted on our website on April 10th, and all the director's report and all the materials were shared with the board, and they are available on our website since April 11th. When it comes to the voter registration statistics, as everyone knows, we pulled the numbers at the beginning of each calendar month. This data is available on our website. We include pie chart just to have a visual distribution of voter registration in the county for the month of March, where we have 684,784 registered voters in the county, with 66,279 inactive voters. Party distribution is as presented in the chart. When it comes to the state board of elections, very just briefly that all the ballots, all the mail-in ballots for our Yokava voters, our military and overseas voters went out 45 days before the election day as required by the law, and domestic mailing of mail-in ballots followed after that. Official election drop boxes were delivered from the state and installed throughout the county on March 2026. When it comes to personnel, we have selected a candidate who will join us on April 22nd to take over a water services manager position, my previous job. So I hope that we will have a pleasure to meet our new colleague on first day of canvass. So that will be hot welcoming. Let's put it this way.
Quite an auspicious day to start.
Absolutely, absolutely. We currently have two vacant positions. I did just an overview of all the positions that have changed personnel since the last elections. People who are new to our team, or team members who changed, who moved from one position to another. 2024 compared to 2022, we are talking about 41% of new team members or new assignments in the team, which is a lot. So as I said, we are on target. We are picking up, but turnover was big for our agency as well as other agencies in the state. When it comes to the budget document was provided to the public and the board. The budget document reflects the spending as of end of March this year. Significant funds that are still available in that document are projections to be spent in the last quarter, because this is where the most of our expenditures take place, including pay for the stipends for the election judges and rental of spaces and everything that follows along. When it comes to the section activities, first of all, maybe a communication with the voters that we try to introduce for the last few board meetings. We have our sample ballot for the primary election went out on April 4th this year. We try to have it to start mailing quite early. The only issue is we had to have a staggered approach, because 680,000 sample ballots, which are 28 pages each, is not something that can be printed in one day or delivered in one day. So it was a staggered approach that I think the delivery was 150,000 sample ballots per day that the print shop was able to deliver. So I believe going forward, that's kind of a practice that we would like to sustain, to have our sample ballots out in the same time or a bit early before the mail-in ballots go out. So many moving parts on that one, but that's our effort. When it comes to water services, maybe first start with the water registration team. Many things that are part of our daily activities, which are water registration, updates to water registration records, processing of data received from the voters themselves or from the different agencies that we collect data from, like DHMH or jury commission or the courts. What is interesting maybe here is that we are still receiving over 600 either new voter registration or updates daily. And that number takes us around 20,000 a month that the team has to process in preparation for these upcoming elections. When it comes to the mail-in voting, our numbers of received applications is the highest in the state. That was expected. That will continue. We are over 122,000 ballots when I pulled the numbers in preparation for the director's report, and we crossed 104,000, I believe, permanent mail-in ballot requests for all the future elections. The number that is still high, or better to say, absolutely the highest in the state, is the number of web delivery ballots, which is over 18,000 for the Montgomery County. IT training and training section. The section continues to prepare equipment for the upcoming elections. Logic and accuracy testing is being conducted on all the equipment that will be deployed during early voting and election day. We, following the launch of the election workers portal, now Future Vote portal was launched on March 21st, and now IT manager continues to work with our colleagues from TEPS to introduce the further improvements in these portals that we use to communicate with any volunteer who wants to help us and join us in the upcoming elections to serve as election worker. When it comes to trainings, a bit under 240 classes conducted and a bit under 2,300 election workers trained as of April 10. We will talk more about these numbers. We need more. We need more volunteers. We need more election workers to properly staff every polling place. We will get to the number of polling places that we have in the county. And especially what we need is we need election workers of any party affiliation, but in particular, election workers who are assigned with affiliated with the Republican Party to have bipartisan teams as much as possible through every polling place. When it comes to operation section, once drop boxes were deployed, we started daily pickup of ballots, visits to every drop box, and pickup of the ballots that were deposited by our voters. We are currently on once a day schedule. We will move to twice a day when the early voting starts on May 2nd. When it comes to the warehouse, it's all about packing and preparing equipment and materials that will be deployed for early voting and polling places. When it comes to recruitment doesn't just do recruitment, they help outreach and other activities, but I think that key here is to look at the numbers. As of April 10th, we had a bit over 4,100 volunteers who submitted application to serve as election workers. 1,200 of them did not take the online quiz yet. So 1,200 did not. So we have
out of
4,100. So we have 2,940 volunteers who completed the online quiz. 2,264 completed in-person training, and we have 342 who were on April 10 already signed up to take in-person training. So there's a bit of effort on our end to reach to all these volunteers who completed the application but didn't follow up with necessary and required steps that would bring them in position to serve during early voting on election day. But again, as I said, there's a part where we are trying to get everyone to analyze the process, and there's a part where we are trying to invite everyone to start the process by filling out the application itself. When it comes to party affiliation of those who renewed or completed the applications, you will see that the 2,744 are affiliated with the Democratic Party, 470 with the Republican Party. Unaffiliated is 827, and other parties is 70. So it's there's a road to travel to get the total numbers and to get the party distributions where we would like to see at every polling place. When it comes to the meetings and events, I did participate in the League of Women's Voter virtual event on March 26th, where discussion focused on the importance of trusted sources of election-related information. And on April 9th, Ms. Janet Ross, our acting deputy director, IT manager, and Roberto Zelaya, our PIO, and myself, we attended the signing of the bill related to protection of election officials act by Governor Wes Moore in Annapolis. So that would be for the director's report. Just sharing. Sure. Okay.
Presentation.
I didn't see it. Sorry.
It is not sharing. It's not sharing on Zoom. The doctor's Zoom. I'll just share.
Go.
Good. I can't see.
That's-
It's too fast. And then go to your presentation. You have done that, don't you?
This one, this one. There you go.
Yeah. Why is there anything on the screen then? Why is it that screen? Maybe go to the other one.
Okay.
It's slow.
No, it's bigger. Okay, sorry for this, just trying to get technology work. The idea to do this presentation, I just wanted to share where we stand. I wanted to share where certain data is available on our website, where certain data available that might be useful for different campaigns and candidates on either state website. And of course, a couple of messages that I believe both Board of Elections and the campaigns could share with general public and voters, so we have better elections in terms of everyone's participation, less better voter experience, either voting in person or returning mailing ballots. Basically, the messaging matters, right? And reaching out to everyone who is available. So, if I get this to work. As I said, I'll provide very brief overview of the preparations for the upcoming presidential primary elections. I'll touch upon some changes compared to 2022 elections and some aspects which represent continuity of service by the board decision or the implementation of the election itself. Some new initiatives, sharing available data that we have, and of course, seeking joint efforts, as I said, to communicate and reach out to all the voters. This presentation is available on our website under April board meeting, and all the links that are in the presentation will be, you will be able to use them to get to the data that you need and connections. When it comes to the sections, we'll go over key dates, voter registration, vote by mail, early vote election day, and of course, election workers, as I already touched upon. When it comes to key dates, we will start as legally allowed early canvass on Monday, April 22nd. The law enables a board to decide if they want to start early canvass 8 business days before early voting starts. That's April 22nd, and we will be there. I think that our volume, historical volume, and the number of applications that are on the books warrants to canvass as early as possible. Day after that, on Tuesday, is the advance deadline to register to update, to register to vote or update your voter registration. Please, whenever you communicate with any of your supporters, this is very important date, especially for individuals who would like to consider changing party affiliation in order to vote in party primaries. This is the deadline to do that. Voter registration will be available during early voting or election day, same day registration, of course, but not party affiliation changes. So 23rd is the deadline for that. Early voting will start on Thursday, May 2nd, and will last through Thursday, May 9th. Of course, election day is May 14th, and 10 a.m. May 24 is the deadline for the board to receive vote by mail ballots that are postmarked by election day.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just another breakdown of voter registration at the end of March. Provides exact numbers per party, provides number of active voters who are in active voter registration status and voters who are inactive, together with the totals. Sorry, maybe just to go back, and you cannot. We just try to move. So if you see at the title which says voter registration monthly statistics, clicking on the monthly statistic will take you to the web page on our website where monthly statistics are published every month. So you will follow every month. On the first of the calendar month, we publish the data for the previous calendar month. When it comes to active voter registration, registration of voters per party affiliation, this is the pie chart that was also part of the director's report. You see that Democrats are making 59%, Republicans 14%, with 25% of unaffiliated as the very large group in the county. When it comes to voter registration and all the service areas that we provide, the first one, of course, is registration of new voters. This is what we do daily. We receive either online or in person requests for voters to be registered. We are talking about our voters, citizens who moved to the county, who turned 16, who became a naturalized citizen. So we do daily registration of new voters. Each one of these signs, again, has a link in it that you can advertise, that you can promote for anyone to use to either register to vote or to update their voter registration record. There are multiple options, especially when people move and they change the addresses. We would like to know that as soon as possible, because that affects, of course, the ballot style that you will vote, whether you live on one address or another. Other issues include party affiliations, changes of names, or similar. The third one is list maintenance. This is our effort to keep to process all the information and all the records that we receive to keep our voter rolls as accurate as possible. If you follow the link provided as a list maintenance, it will take you to the presentation that was delivered for the board and the public, I believe in January of 2022, which explains all the list maintenance activities that the board does, all the data sources that we communicate with and collect in order to do list maintenance. Numbers, of course, in that presentation will be a bit outdated, but the process itself and the sources are still valid, still accurate. Training of voter registrars, we do support anyone who wants to get certain level of training so they can go out and register voters and work with the voters in their communities to update their registration. We are happy to help with that. When it comes to voter registration as a team, petition processing falls under this team whenever there's a petition going on. Processing, of course, of provisional ballots, customer service, anything that is up front facing on the front area. And of course, at the last segment is voter registration, frequently asked questions. Many questions that we get on the calls, on the emails are available, answers are available on our website. And you will see that our frequently asked questions are quite extensive, and either for voter registration or vote by mail or anything that we do. So key products, as I said, monthly statistics. These are all links that will take you where you want to be. County-wide voter registration data. We, as the board, provide for a fee data of all registered voters in the county. Data is provided on USB stick based on following the request that has to be submitted. That there are certain legal caveats there that you cannot use it for economic purposes. And similar, these links will take you to those requests. The next one is voter registry. These are requests for access to individual voter records for whatever purposes campaigns or candidates use them. And the last one, of course, is if you have volunteers in your campaigns who would like to learn more about voter registration before they go out, please reach out to us so we can assist the best way we can. When it comes to voter registration and options that we have for voters, this is maybe something that we would count on you to promote in your daily campaigning activities, how to register to vote, which links to go, how to visit our website, how to use the texting option, text vote to 77788. The same goes for the to check your voter registration to confirm that voter registration is up to date to where you are. We also provide the option to cancel your voter registration directly, so we can process it immediately without waiting for another agency to provide us that data. And of course, same day registration that's available during early voting or on election day. So key messages when it comes to voter registration. Please promote voter registration. Please promote voter registration timely. So we have still some time before the advanced deadline. Please promote options to voters to check and update their voter registration whenever their schedule allows them. We know that our voters are busy. Maybe not every time is a good time. We tried to introduce something new this year, is to reach out through mass emails to as many voters as possible. One of those messaging that we did, we sent out 380,000 emails in one day. And we can do it as long as voters share their emails with us. We have a lot of voters in our database that never shared emails with us initially. So if you promote voter registration update, please ask the voters to add their emails so they can receive timely and accurate information from the board about anything that's election related. Our effort, and I believe your effort, talking about campaigns and candidates, is to have a better voting experience for our voters. We would like to see fewer provisional ballots on election day, which means that voters did their voter registration updates timely. And of course, that will help us to update our voter registration rolls timely as well. Vote by mail. This is becoming a very much preferred option for a significant group of our voters in Montgomery County. We will just go quickly over options to request a mail-in ballot, how to return, data overview, something that might be interesting for some of you, and the canvas of those return mail-in ballots. So when it comes to requesting mail-in ballots, this is what we promote through our website, our outreach activities, our sample ballot, that you can request it via text. You can come to our website. You can go to the state website. You can send us an email asking for an application. You can call us, or you can come in person here to the board. There are different deadlines when to request mail-in ballots. So if you would like to receive mail-in ballot through mail, deadline is May 7th. If you would like to request one of those printed home web delivery ballots, the deadline is May 10th. And of course, if you would like to come to our office and request mail-in ballot, it's election day, 8 p.m. Returning ballots, there are multiple options available in the county. We have 58 official drop boxes. We had 55 in 2022. 3 drop boxes were added by the board's decision for the 2044 cycle. We are talking about drop boxes at the Montgomery College campuses in Germantown, Rockville, and Tacoma Park. Anyone can use our texting options to text word box plus the zip code to 77788, which will give you the closest location of the closest drop box. USPS service, United States Postal Service, is available. You can mail your ballots back to us. You can also come to the office and deliver it in person. So any option is available. I would like to invite anyone who would like to see where their ballot is, that on our website, there is a link which is called Track Your Ballot. So if you are waiting your ballot that was mailed from the state, please follow the link. It will just ask you very simple questions about you, and you'll be able to see where your ballot currently is. As I said, 58 drop boxes. If you follow the link at the very top, you will see the locations of all those drop boxes throughout the county. The addition of 3 compared to 2022. And as I said, drop boxes were installed March 26th, and they will remain in place until close of elections on May 14, 8 p.m.
And we currently, since the ballots have been mailed out, we've been doing daily pickups of those.
We are doing daily pickups since the moment the drop boxes were installed. So for the Montgomery County, the moment drop boxes are in place, video surveillance recording starts, daily pickup start. And we have bipartisan teams of 2 members who go and pick up ballots from those drop boxes daily. As I said, when the early voting starts, we will move from once a day pickup to twice a day. So that's we'll talk about habits of when we receive ballots from our voters in our elections. This is the slide that board would really like to ask for help from all the campaign and all candidates. This slide presents the number of mail-in ballots returned through drop boxes in 2022 primary and general election. Even though the ballots were sent out and available to all voters for 35, even 40 days, majority of the ballots were returned the last 2 days. We don't have problem with that. As I said, we are picking twice a day. We have a team, we have system in place. We will collect all ballots. Everything will be taken care of. The question is, the canvass takes longer after election day. We cannot physically certify because we cannot physically finish the canvass within a few days after election. This especially applies for those web delivery printed home ballots because those have to go through the manual process of locating the voter's record in the system, printing out the labels, manually attaching the labels to the envelopes, and then scanning them to the batch before it goes to the canvas. Plus, in canvas, everything, all the ballots that are regular envelopes, we can do the automatic letter openers to cut them. Those web deliveries, canvassers have to use one by one and open them manually. So, people's choice, we will respect, we will accommodate, but if we can send a message, the moment voters decide, no rush, but the moment they make a decision whom they would like to vote for, please return ballot as soon as possible because this is a bit of a struggle to address fairly quickly. So we will canvass, we'll finish everything, but this will take time. Mail-in ballot request by party affiliation. You will see the distribution here is pretty much steady across different areas. I pulled the data for the county. This data was pulled maybe a week ago, so apologies if the numbers don't necessarily match director's report because I pulled it a few days prior to that. But percentages are the key, and percentages hold throughout the presentation because I pulled the numbers for the county as a whole, and then I pulled per congressional district, so you can see it. So we are averaging Republicans at 11% and Democrats at 75%, with unaffiliated around 14%.
To be clear, you're saying that
75% of the requests come from Democrats,
No.
not that 75% of Democrats are.
No.
requesting mail-in ballots.
This is distribution of requests per party affiliation. So
Okay.
this is, yeah.
Thank you.
So interesting part, of course, as I said, is number of permanent requests for mail-in ballots. This number, as I said, is over a week old, so we already crossed, I believe, 104,000 permanent mail-in ballot requests, which indicates what is the preference of our voters going forward. When it comes to the permanent mail-in ballot requests, you will see that the percentages do hold, but that we have significant numbers of voters of different parties that have chosen to vote permanently or to be placed on a permanent mail-in ballot list going forward. This is just very brief overview of congressional districts. Not whole congressional 4 is in Montgomery County, just a sliver. And this is data that we can pull for those voters in that district. Just a very, very small number. But again, percentages as distribution holds the pattern. Congressional 6, you will see a bit of difference here, and the numbers, of course, bigger, with Republicans making 14% of mail-in ballot requests in Congressional 6, and Congressional 8, it's where almost 76% of requests come from the Democrats and 11% from Republicans. In order to get for the parties or for the candidates to acquire available data, something that we have ready and that we can share with everyone. Of course, anything that is related to mail-in voting, frequently asked questions, they are available now on our website. Here's the link as well. Any party that would like to receive the list of voters who are requesting to be on the mail-in ballot list have to follow the link number 2. It's called mail-in ballot label data. We already have a couple of requests, and we produce, we share via email the data to anyone who requested. The third one is permanent mail-in ballot list. So if you or anyone would like to see or to request the list of voters who are on a permanent mail-in ballot list, this will take you to the website. You will still have to select which exactly you want. I didn't want to provide a link to the form itself, because there are instructions before you go to the form that are relevant for everyone to read before they start completing the form. The next one is mail-in ballot requests by county. This will take you to the State Board of Election website, where you can do some comparison with the other counties. You will see that we are the only county with 6 figures number of mail-in ballot requests in the state. State website will also give you mail-in ballots sent and returned, where you will be able to follow how many ballots went out to the voters, how many ballots were returned by the voters or received by Montgomery County Board of Election. So I believe that state is trying to update this data daily in the afternoon or evening, but plus minus the data will be a good indicator where we stand with these numbers. Again, first day of canvass or canvass as a whole. This will be interesting for every party, candidates, campaigns to visit. We will start on Monday, April 22nd. Again, we will be in the Germantown campus of Montgomery College. The address is Bioscience Education Center, 20,200 Observation Drive in Germantown. We will continue to live stream canvass as we did in previous years. We, I believe, run 3 cameras, Janet, right?
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 cameras we will use to cover the whole room, especially to cover the board when a board is going over referred ballots for the other tabulation. Canvass will run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Everyone is invited. We will have a room for the observers, for the guests. Our schedule is available on our website, and schedule will be updated daily. The reason is very simple. This is a draft schedule that board has prepared for canvassing dates in 2024, primary election. So the reason why this schedule is subject to change is one of those previous graphs that I showed to you. If we don't have ballots, there is nothing to canvass. So we would like to have as many ballots as returned to us as possible in order to canvass on these days. We have rooms scheduled. We have teams available. We will adjust the schedule and publish it on our website as need be. If we don't have sufficient number of ballots to canvass, we will cancel the pre-scheduled canvass day, and the public will be informed of that by visiting our website. On our website will be the link and information whether canvass is happening or not. You will see that the canvass days are scheduled from next Monday, and all the way to May 25th, after 11 days after the election day. When it comes to the key messages, it's very simple. Requesting a mail-in ballot is easy. It's easy to return that ballot. Now it's easy to track that ballot. Just follow the link that is available on our website or through this presentation. We also try to explain everyone who would like to request web delivery, this printed home ballot, what are the necessary steps. That's not as straightforward as might seem, because you have to print that ballot at home on your own paper, your own ink, your own printer. You have to provide the envelope, you have to provide postage, you have to return it, instead of just using the ones that are already prepared by the state. As I said, Canvas is live streamed, it's open to public, and we are accepting invitation for anyone who would like to become a canvasser going forward. We are looking for bipartisan teams as well. Canvas is always team of two of different political parties. When it comes to early voting, we have legally 13 early voting centers based on the number of voters that are registered in the county, with the ability to add 14th early voting site. This is exactly what board did in 2022 and confirmed in 2024. This is that continuity of service. We are having early voting at the same locations as we did in 2022. The change is that some of those locations we will move to bigger rooms. So, for example, in Praisner, we will not be in the social hall anymore, we'll be in the gym. The same goes for the Damascus or some other locations. So we are trying to have early voting in the bigger rooms to allow for easier flow through the center. Early voting dates again, May 2nd through May 9th, and early voting hours 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Early voting locations are provided on this link. A small message: if you reach out or talk to your voters, traditionally, early voting lasts for 8 days. The first day and the last day are the busiest. And there are 6 days in between that people can utilize to cast their in-person vote early, and so it can be tabulated and results published on election day. So if you get the chance, invite your supporters. 8 days of early voting, there's plenty of time. Anyone can do it. Weekends are especially, let's say Sunday is the slowest, right? Sunday and Monday tend to be the slowest days of early voting. So
Saturday's pretty slow too.
so anything that's from the opening to the, like, opening is big, closing is big. Everything in between, please invite your voters to utilize that option as much as possible. When it comes to polling places, we as a county, we have 260 precincts. There are 8 changes in terms of, let me first say, when it comes to precincts, there are 2 links here that you can utilize. One is the link to precinct maps on our website, and the second link, you see it below 260, is precincts within congressional districts. So you will see exactly which precincts fall under which congressional district. There are 8 changes to polling places compared to 2022 general elections, and list of the 232 polling places are available on this presentation. We organize the list alphabetically, and we organize it numerically following district precinct numbers throughout the list. These are the changes that were approved by the board compared to 2022. There are no surprises here. We had some changes in 2022 because buildings were under construction, constructions were completed, polling places went back to their previous locations. If you would like to be notified every time a board is considering change of polling place, there's an option on our website to sign up, and we will send you an email before the board meeting when that is taking place. Election day polling place changes. Every time we change a polling place, we send a voter notification card to everyone who is affected. Sample ballot that was sent to 680,000 voters. On the back has your name and the polling place for you. There will be signs at all polling places that are not being used as a polling place now. And this time there will be something new whoever votes at the polling place on election day, when you approach the building, for example, school, there will be a map of the precinct, which will indicate this, if you live in this precinct, this is your polling place. You can still go in and vote at that polling place, but you will have to vote provisional ballot. But if you live in that shaded area, that's your precinct, that's where you vote regular ballot. And we also give a reminder to people, just text the word check to 77788, so you can get information where your exact polling place is. Again, this is our effort to improve the voting experience, especially recognizing that in 2022 general elections, we had 14,000 provisional ballots. Again, another record that I believe both voters and us can do better without. So message to the voters, as I said, your sample ballot has your polling place. Please check at the back. You can check, it takes the word check to 77788 to confirm your polling place. Visit voter lookup. It's available on our website. It's available on the state Board of Elections website to confirm your polling place. Check for your voter notification card. If we moved your polling place recently, you received one recently. Otherwise, you have it from before. You can always call us. We'll be more than happy to tell you what your right polling place is. And of course, as I mentioned, there will be maps at the polling place as a last resort when you see, do you live in that precinct? Now we go to non-electioneering zones and few issues that we send a letter to the campaigns and the candidates explaining the non-electioneering and the issues that historically have been the case in the county. Non-electioneering zone in the county is 25 feet, whether we are talking about early voting, election day, or the drop boxes. Signs are posted on every drop box in the county, but on the drop box itself, we stayed away from putting any cones or something similar on the ground around the drop boxes during their locations. Sorry. Photos of locations of early voting centers, non-electioneering signs are available on the link on this presentation. So you all as a campaigns, you all as a candidates, you'll have supporters who will be present outside of the early voting centers or election day polling places. Any assignment you have for your volunteers, your teams, please take a look at the non-electioneering signs for that particular polling place so they can plan where to place their signs, where they can stand, and similar. The same goes for the election day. We have pictures for every polling place, all 232 of them on our website where the non-electioneering signs will be. When we send the letters to the campaigns, we alluded that during early voting, storage will be available at some centers for overnight, to leave overnight the campaign signs that campaigns might use outside of those centers, but not all of them. The second thing is those facilities have limited storage space. So first come, first serve. There's only so much it can be stored there. Facilities cannot assume liability for any signs that are left there or damaged in the process, as you might expect. The second row, the first box, which says protect landscaping. We all voted in person, visited sites. We all see campaign staff being on landscape. That's absolutely fine. That's part of the process. What was brought to our attention is that I believe in 2022, we had a campaign that brought a shovel and dig a hole for 4x4 pole to post it. So let's not. I'm just trying. I don't want to limit anyone's ability to use any sign they want, but digging holes at the landscaping at the public premises like rec centers or libraries, maybe there are better options or better signs to pick and use for these purposes. If you would be so kind to pass a message to your volunteers who will be outside of the early voting centers and the polling places with your campaign signs. because they are staying the whole day there, if they can park a bit further away from the entrance door. Because we would like to be mindful of our voters who maybe cannot walk that long distance from the back, and especially when it comes to handicap parking, to leave it as many spaces as possible free for the voters who are coming in and going out on a daily basis. And of course, campaigns, multiple campaigns, representatives of the candidates will be in the same place. There will be interactions with the staff in those facilities that are hosting early voting or election day. I think that we are just adults, and we have to communicate and resolve any issue that comes along, which we might expect it will happen in the course of 8 days of early voting. Polling place assessments. If you hear from your supporters that they were not happy with something at the polling place, please tell them. Comment cards are available at the early voting sites. This time around, every voter will have QR codes available at the exit that they can scan and give us their feedback, how we were doing at certain polling places, early voting sites, whether they were happy with how we organized the polling place, election judges, the floor, how they travel to get that place. We need feedback. This is how we improve. This is how we get better. This is how we address concerns in a structured manner. Of course, we will partner with League of Women Voters to do the polling place assessment program. Again, that is like third party that we do regularly in addition to our voters who provide comments themselves. Election workers and recruitment. We need a lot of election workers. I know that if I say that 2,200 workers went through the training, we are not done hiring. We need a lot of people every day of early voting. We have 14 early voting sites. We have between 25 and 32 people daily in each of those sites, depending on the day, depending on the size of the site or historical turnout. Plus, we have 232 polling places on election day. That's a lot of election workers, a lot of volunteers that we would like to have. So any help would be appreciated. Spreading the word, inviting your supporters or neighbors or family members, please join us. In addition to early voting and election day, we are running drop boxes. We are implementing nursing homes and assisted living program, where we are sending bipartisan teams to these facilities to help facilitate voter registration and voting to our residents, our voters who are maybe bedridden, so they cannot leave those premises. And of course, the canvas itself. Goal for the canvas, when we have a lot of ballots, we need 110 people daily, because we run 50 bipartisan teams to canvas anywhere between 10 to 15,000 ballots in a day. So maybe it was a lot, maybe it was not enough, but if you have questions, myself, Board of Election team, and everyone is here, managers, supervisors. So if we can answer any questions, we'll be more than happy. If you don't have an answer handy ready, we'll get back to you for sure.
If you could mute.
Thank you, Boris, for that very comprehensive presentation. Thank you to the staff for being here to answer questions. I've been informed by Ami that she has an unforeseen reason that she has to leave soon. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to speak first, and before I even have anything more to say, and then we'll kind of go on from there. And then obviously we will hear from our visitors as well. Ami, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I apologize for having to leave early, but it's an unforeseen problem that I have to deal with. I want to first thank Boris for his excellent presentation. If you guys have a lot of questions, I will be surprised, because I think Boris covered almost everything there is. Let me make two specific remarks. First, I want to say congratulations also to Boris and to our chairman, David, for keeping the Republican part of our Board of Elections fully informed as we go through this process. That hasn't always been the case in the past, and I think they have done an excellent job of keeping us informed of all the little quirks that happen in this process and how they are taken care of. And the second thing I want to say is, having been a candidate myself, I want to remind the candidates about the importance of treating all of the voters with as much courtesy as possible, in particular things like leaving the parking places close to the voting sites up to the voters and not for the campaign workers or even the candidates. I know the candidates like to run around to as many polling places as possible. I myself, but let's park further away. And besides, you can talk to a lot of voters on your way walking to the polling place through the parking lot. I've done that, so I know what that's like. And so again, I apologize for having to leave at this point, but enjoy the rest of the meeting, and I'm sure that our team will answer all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ami. I certainly will follow that advice that you just gave. I have not always followed it in the past, but I will certainly do so this time.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to just highlight a few things. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're questions. They're more just kind of points that I wanted to underline. The first one is that as folks in Montgomery County know, and our statewide campaigns may or may not, our no electioneering zone is actually much closer to the entrance of the building than anywhere else in the state. There's actually state legislation that says in Montgomery County, the no electioneering zone is between 25 and 100 feet from the entrance based on what this board decides as to where the no electioneering zone is. Everywhere else, it's 100 feet. So we're already the closest to the door in the state. I would ask that candidates and campaigns not go any closer than what we already are allowing. And we do have a spot on our website where you can look up the no electioneering zone today for any of our early voting sites or any of our polling places. So if you have concerns about the no electioneering zone, you can let us know. If you want to know where they're located, you can look them up. But we would like you to observe that. And if we do have repeat observations of specific individuals who are not observing that, we will be forced to report that to the State Board of Elections, and that report is let's just say not exempt from disclosure. So we would urge you to please follow the rules on the no electioneering zone. Boris mentioned some of the more colorful things that have been done with signs at our early voting centers and polling places. I want to talk about the timing for a moment. The state law says you can put up your signs at 5 p.m. the night before early voting or the night before election day. If you do it before that, there is a possibility that we will take your signs down. So I know that everyone wants to get a jump on everyone else. But these facilities that we are using both for early voting and for election day are used for other purposes. We would ask people to not jump the gun and put up your signs at 5 o'clock the night before. We also would ask that everyone, win, lose, no election is a draw. I would say win, lose, or election not yet determined, to please remove your signs by the following morning, either after the end of early voting or after election day. In addition to our thanking you, the Rec Department and MCPS will thank you, because those are the locations for many of our locations. And any private location, they are the most anxious to get the signs off of their property. And of course, they can tell us that they won't be a polling place next time if the signs are up for too long. So please help us out. Take your signs down as soon as the election is over. I'm pretty sure the voters will also reward you for that. As Boris said, the canvass starts a week from today. Everyone is invited. If you're ever going to be involved in a close race, you're going to want to know how this works. And it is definitely worth seeing. We've had a few close races in Montgomery County, as I think everyone knows. So please look at that. Obviously, as Boris said, all the dates are subject to change. I want to underscore what Boris said about encouraging voters who have made up their minds about the ballot to go ahead and vote. There's no reason to wait if you already know what you're going to do. And you can help us and help yourselves at the same time. You can not waste your time following up with voters who've already voted. And also voters don't have to worry about losing their ballot, you know, et cetera. All of our drop boxes are open. They're all on video. We collect the ballots at least once daily. The twice daily that Boris mentioned about when early voting starts is not a legal requirement. That's something that we do because we think it's a good idea. Please don't delay if you don't have to. We will not be releasing any returns before the polls close on election day, but it does help to get the process started. And the sooner we have final results on the primary, the sooner everyone can start their general election campaigns. Also a reminder that we don't call elections until we finish counting all the ballots. That is not new. That is the way it's been as long as any of us can remember. You know, the media may call the elections. You all as political experts may call the elections, but we do not do that. We publish the numbers that we get on a daily basis after election day, and others will be making their own analysis as to what that means. So don't consider it unusual if we are, because I sure don't, if we are still counting ballots 2 weeks after election day. In Montgomery County, that is very much the norm. I would say 3 weeks after election day, but I'm kind of having some optimism that it, you know, that it could be sooner, but we don't really know. And then the last thing I was going to say, well, maybe two more quick things. Please be nice and courteous to the other candidates and the other political party. And there are a few reasons for this. Number one, it'll be more pleasant at the polls for everyone. Number two, it's a primary election, so fighting with the other party is kind of a waste of time. You know, because you know, you're not even competing in the same, you know, in the same election that day. Number three, it's good politics. You may need people's votes in the general election, and they may not only be the people who supported your candidate in the primary or who support your party. And number four, and I've had this experience, I've walked up to polling places and kind of had to intercede in debates at the polling places. It is very unlikely that anyone who is a poll worker at the polling place is going to be convinced by another poll worker at the polling place to change their views. If you are committed enough to your candidate or your party to be a poll worker at the polling places, you know, having that debate is kind of asking for trouble. So I just put that out there. It's a free country. You can have the debate if you want to, as long as it's peaceful, as long as nobody feels intimidated. But it might not be the best use of your time. And then the last thing I was going to say is that at the canvass or today or any other time, all board members and staff are available to anyone with concerns. That's regardless of your party affiliation or ours. We talk to everyone. All board members are available to all members of the public. I had different campaigns at the 2022 canvass who were complaining that I was talking to the other side. You're darn right. I'm going to be talking to anyone at the canvass because I consider that to be part of my job. I imagine that my colleagues are going to feel the same way. So feel free to talk to any of us, you know, we are happy to help you with any questions that you have. Okay, I'm going to ask my colleagues first whether you have anything to add. Daniel, I'll start with you. Please do.
I mean, see, I'm not a good opera singer, so I don't like the background noise. But thank you, Mr. President, and always great to be in person because I'm not a transactional person. I'm a relational person. I like to see faces and shake hands. To thank you to everyone who came. I believe, you know, the director's report and the information provided is invaluable to all campaigns. I've ran for office and I know how important it is to not only run a good election, but also to make sure that we follow the rules. So Boris and the team, thank you so much for providing this information. And I echo the president's comment about just being a good person. At the end of the day, elections come and go. And the relationships you make, you never know how important, how significant they're going to be going forward. And then lastly, as Mr. President said, we're here to answer questions. And there are times when we don't have the answer to those questions. But be patient with us. I mean, one thing I can say is that I would listen whenever someone, wants to talk. If I don't say anything, it's because maybe there's no need for me to say anything. If you ask a question, I don't have an answer to it, I can guarantee you I'll do my best to come to colleagues, to come to the staff, to get that answer for you. So thank you again for having this in-person meeting, and I look forward to engaging everybody. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Daniel. Diane.
Yes, thank you. I thought that presentation was excellent. And everybody for all the here and listening. I endorse the notion that we are all available to everybody anytime, and please call me with any questions. And it was so good that I hate to bring up anything that's not a complete compliment, but just an FYI, checking on the drop boxes, because I'm so interested in that, to find the nearest one. The heading is 2022 general election, and I'm just assuming.
Exactly the comments that we need to fix.
The-
Compared to sticky notes.
Okay, great. So that'll be
GIS
changed
will
to,
work, locations will work. It will take exactly.
I mean,
right-
the info is there, and I think we can figure it out, but. Yeah, for the 77788 for text, and that comes
They didn't flip.
back.
Contact them right now.
Because a couple
I'm-
people just checked.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah, no, I-
Gilberto will work with the county staff to figure that out. For that.
Yeah, and I think it is just a nifty link, so thank you for providing that. That's it. Looking forward to the canvas.
Yourself. And thank you, Diane. Margie.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being here today, online and also in person. I think my colleagues on the board have already said anything that I could possibly think of, but I also want to mention, as someone who's, well, I first want to mention, feel free to reach out to me too if you have any questions, if you see me walking around. I'll be around a lot. We have a lot of days together, especially as a board, but feel free to come and talk to me if you have any questions. And then the second thing that I wanted to mention was, as someone who's also run for office previously, the staff is excellent. I ran for the first time as someone who didn't have too much knowledge on the process, but the staff was excellent in providing questions, and especially as someone who wanted to make sure I had everything done correctly. That's just something I wanted to reiterate, and that you can see that in the preparations that have been done in the presentation. The staff works really hard to make sure the elections are run smoothly. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. Alex.
Great, here we go. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to compliment Boris, Janet, and Lisa and the team for a great presentation. I think it speaks well of our commitment to transparency and to explain to the voters, the campaigns, and the candidates what we actually do, how the process works, and it was very well organized. I think it's going to help. And I would just also sort of give a plea to my friends on the Republican Central Committee and the campaigns. We need you. Please encourage anyone that you know to sign up to be an election worker, because we need more help. It's a very labor intensive process, as you will see, and the more, the better. So with that, I yield the floor, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alex. Let me just make one point about something that Alex said to piggyback on that. We do have available for people election judge stints that are 8-hour days rather than 16-hour days. So if you talk to someone who thinks that they cannot be an election judge because a 16-hour day is a little too much, which is certainly understandable, it's a pretty long day. But they'll be available for shorter periods of time. That is definitely a possibility. So that's obviously not just for Republicans, that's for unaffiliated and Democrats as well. But I just want to put the word out there. There was a time when you could only be an election judge if you could work a 16-hour day. That is no longer the case. So anyway, okay, Keena.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everyone else, thank you so much for having me online today. I'm so glad to see so many of you were able to attend in person. I just want to underscore what our director shared earlier about sharing your ballot as soon as possible. Truly, the timing of this cannot be said enough. The earlier, the better. We have had comments in the past about how long it may take for the election to be certified, and that truly just depends on when these ballots are brought in. So if you have requested a mail-in ballot, if you have filled out your ballot, please do your best to submit that as soon as possible. The staff have worked very hard on this presentation to provide you with the information that you need to access it via phone, email, online, to know exactly what drop boxes and locations to go by and give your ballots. So I really want to underscore that. And the second was also said by my colleague Alex. Please, if you have the ability to serve, please do so. And that stipend does help, but also, like we said before, the manpower is just, it's a lot, and we need people to be there. And of course, as he shared, if you are a Republican, if you're a Democrat, please make sure that you take the time. If you're independent, please make sure you take the time to assess if you have the ability to serve. We greatly need it. And the recruitment that you do amongst your friends and families goes far deeper than anything that we can give today. Please, if you have the time, you have the ability, serve.
Thank you very much, Keena. All right, so all the board members have had an opportunity. I'm going to open the floor now to, first I'm going to start with the people who are here, but people who are online, if you have questions, if you can raise your electronic hand, that will make it, there's a button at the bottom that says raise hand. That would be the easiest. But I am going to start with anyone here. If there's anyone here who has a question, please raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Melby, would you please come over here? You can be next. And if you would, I'm going to mute myself and you'll be unmuted, but if you could identify yourself before you ask your question, then we will try to answer it.
Dennis Melby, I'm the chairman of the. Everybody is here, especially. We tell them to go to the chief, but sometimes they don't get satisfaction. Should they go to the second question is your canvassing, counting the ballots really before the election's over. Know who's winning and how do you keep that from other people? Thank you.
Boris, if you could answer the second question first. Okay. The second question was, about how we don't let people know who is winning the election. Very important question. And then we can talk about, because I would say that as far as where you take your complaint, it kind of depends on the nature of the complaint, but we'll get to that.
So, second question first, and the answer is very simple. We scan, we don't tabulate. So everything is being scanned, everything is being processed, but the results are not put in a format that could be presented. There's on the side of the staff and everyone who is involved, there's a certain forms that we need to complete in order to maintain confidentiality of all the data and everything that's being processed in pre-election day. So no results are shared with anyone on any canvassing only ballot or any ballots that were canvassed before the election day.
Can I just follow up on that? I think it's more than that there are no results that are shared. If we're not tabulating it, that means that there's no results that are known. You know, so it's not like we know and we're not telling. It's that we don't know either. And I think that's an important distinction, because to the extent that, I mean, obviously there's a lot of very trustworthy people here, and you know, and we go through this because remember that we do early voting ballots during the day on election day, and I've never heard of them leaking in my lifetime. But in this instance, we are processing the ballots for everything short of counting. Is that okay?
So, yeah, and basically it's not new. The system was applied before. The system will be applied this year, and you will. I believe that anyone who attends the canvass will have a perception how the votes are moving. There's just perception of one table out of 50 of one day out of 21. So the results itself are staying on the side until the election day. Polling places close.
Diane, you said you wanted to say.
Yeah, I just want. There, I just want to piggyback on what Boris said really quickly. Not only do the canvassers sign a form requiring their confidentiality with the information, but having done this a number of cycles, you just get so zoned and pigeonholed on what you're doing that you actually really don't even calibrate in your mind the way the votes are going. If that helps.
Long day of canvass.
Yeah.
Mr. President. Alex.
President, I wonder if you might be able to explain to Mr. Melby that it does change a little bit after election day, when we're still canvassing, that results are tabulated and released at certain time intervals. I think he might be helpful for him to know that.
Yes. Let me confirm. Everything that we're talking about, as I understood your question was only about the pre-election period. Once the polls close on May 14th, in the case of this primary, or on election day, any election day, then we're in a different place as far as our results are concerned. And as far as the mail-in ballot canvass goes, we typically it might even be a legal requirement that we release results at the end of each day. Now, there's not a specific moment in time when those things are released, because there's lots of things that go into that, how many ballots were there, you know, et cetera. But we do release the results at the end of each day. We would urge extreme caution in interpreting a particular day as being indicative of any other day, because there could be a variety of reasons as to why the ballots are in a particular order. Basically, they are batched together, and when you have enough of a batch from a particular location, that's when they're counted. So I think it's pretty close to random, but it's not, you know, I wouldn't generalize based on that. As far as your other question goes as to where to direct your concerns, I think it depends on what I'm going to take a stab at it, and then Boris, please help me. I think there's a number of different options. I think that there's definitely a phone number here that people can call, and they can give their concerns. Some people are going to be uncomfortable with that because they're going to think that their problem is very local, and they're not necessarily, even though what's going to happen is that somebody here is going to talk to somebody there to fix it. But whatever the case, so one option is to call here. Another option is to talk to one of us on the board. Now, what we're going to do is, in all likelihood, is we're going to consult with people here. We're going to consult with Boris or Kevin or whatever, but it might be that we'll get through faster. So I certainly have no problem, if you were to call me on election day and say, there's this problem at this location. I've had people call about, the electioneering zones in the wrong place. I've had people call about, all kinds of different things that happen on election day. So that's certainly, a possibility as well. I will say that if somebody feels that their voting is not being handled the right way, which is, to me, one of the more serious things, I would say that the chief judge, there's two chief judges, so go to both of them. But if you don't get satisfaction there, by all means, talk to us, because we want to make sure that the times that we're not all on the same page are very few and far between. But we want to make sure that things are being done the right way. So, Boris, did I
think you covered everything. And I would just, as I said in my presentation, sometimes there will be complaints, sometimes there will be comments, sometimes there will be suggestions how to do things better. We want to hear everything. As I said, 232 polling places, I don't vote on all of them. There are people who've been voting the same place for 10 years. They might have good proposals how to do things better. So there are different communication channels. We will address any issue that is presented to us, any concern. So we will take it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
So when it comes to either an election integrity group or an attorney that's representing a particular candidate, they generally call me and I'll give you my contact information.
Cool.
Okay. Because I sit right there and field calls all day long. So
Okay. Thank you very much. I didn't say that. Happy to come to him next. Please identify yourself for the record.
Okay, Lori Jaffe, I'm the secretary for the Republican Party. And I just had a question about the Dropbox videos. I'm used to be in IT, so I'd like to know what happens to the videos. Are they archived? Are they going to be made available to the public?
So we have a number of stakeholders that we obviously, where we have drop boxes. We have Montgomery County Public Schools, we have rec centers, we have the county itself, we have certain municipalities that are involved, we've got Montgomery College. We have MOUs with every single one of those entities that require that they maintain 24/7 video surveillance on the Dropbox. And that video surveillance has to be accessible in the event that there is an issue that requires some law enforcement intervention. And then pursuant to federal law, that video is considered to be part of election-related material. So it has to be maintained for 22 months or longer, and depending upon if there's some litigation, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in my report, but it's maintained for at least 22 months, depending upon the entity we're dealing with. That video storage is brought here to the Board of Elections for MCPS, for example, because it involves children that may be going in and out of schools. They archive it and they retain it for the 22 months or longer, depending upon when we're authorized to go ahead and dispose of the video surveillance. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay.
When you come to the table, please unmute this particular computer so that our folks online can, oh, you're doing that. Okay, never mind. Lisa has it covered. I should have known. Thank you.
Rob Yasitis. I'm with Larry Hogan's campaign. Thank you all for having us and being open throughout this process. So I really do appreciate that. And it seems like you guys run a great ship over here. Not necessarily a question, just kind of a point of clarification. The registration statistics that you referenced for the volunteers, could you repeat those if you have them handy? Also happy to.
For
the election volunteers that you have.
You're talking about the election workers?
Yes, election workers.
Okay.
I will repeat those numbers now.
Okay.
So the numbers are part of the election director report that is available on the website. As of April 10th, we have 4,111 prospective volunteers who renewed or submitted application to serve. 2,940 prospective volunteers have completed the online quiz, and 2,264 have completed in-person training. On April 10th, we had 342 volunteers signed up to attend in-person training, because trainings are scheduled quite some time ahead. When it comes to party breakdown, Democrats make 2,744, Republicans 470, unaffiliated 827, and other parties just 70. So these are the numbers. Please, this is for you. That's it from the report. It's available online anytime you want.
Boris, do we know why? It sounds like we have 30% of the people who have not completed the quiz. And what kind of follow-up do we do for those people?
So there's one of the links in my presentation. One of the links in my presentation will actually take you to the review of 2022 elections. It's a big presentation, much bigger than this one. I think it has 90 slides. And there in 2022, we tried to capture and present to everyone how the numbers scroll down from number of people who applied, number of people who completed the quiz, who took in-person training, and who actually served. So these are normal drops. What we are doing is literally having a team in the building that's following first with the emails and then with the phone calls, trying to engage on one-on-one conversation with the individuals who signed up to serve but didn't follow through all the steps. So sometimes we are successful reaching them out. Sometimes we are not, because people are busy. I can tell you the team works after 5 and on Saturdays to find a moment when those people can actually answer the phone, and we can see how far we can move.
And additionally, we have automatic emails that go out every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock that says, hey, you signed up, you did this, but you didn't take your quiz. And then we have another one that comes out at 11 o'clock that said you did your quiz and everything, but you didn't schedule in-person training. So every week we prompt them. It's automatic.
So we have both a personal touch and an automated touch that's going out to everybody who has not completed the process.
We are making sure that we check every box on our end.
Okay.
And
Mr. Yasitis, have we answered your question?
Yes, I do have one additional question. This also might just be available online, but it just kind of got sparked when you're talking about it. In the voter registration reports, does it show how many voters you all have actually removed from the voter rolls?
It does.
It does?
So if you go through the voter statistics, you will see additions to general additions to an act. So there's the whole set of numbers, and you will see the movement even between the parties. How many voters joined certain party, how many left in the previous month. So numbers are there. It's pretty comprehensive report.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Okay, Bridget, you're next. Then I'm going to go to Sarah Brown, who is online, and that was Jerry. That was my note to you, that as soon as Bridget is over, if you can promote Sarah to be a panelist, that would be great. Okay, Bridget, go ahead.
Okay, it's Brigitte Mulligan.
Brigitte, I'm sorry.
It's okay, but I am.
I know who you are. Even if I can't say your name correctly.
It's okay, we know each other.
Yes.
I am the treasurer of the Republican Party, but I'm really going to speak on my personal situation, and that is I was a candidate once, and one of the issues I've always had was the voter registration. And in your presentation, you spoke earlier before the presentation and I couldn't hear you being in the back of you. You had mentioned something about 20,000 registered voters monthly, and then you said 600 registered daily. I'm not sure if I got the numbers right. And then you said something about 18,000 Montgomery County. What was the 18,000? Just want to confirm that you have 20,000 per month. Is that just Montgomery County?
That is just Montgomery. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me just answer a question. So, the numbers, now I have to speak from top of my head. We are processing around 20,000 either new registrations or updates to existing voter registrations on monthly basis since January of this year. That averages a bit over 600 daily. So we are not talking about new registrants only. We are talking about people who moved from Silver Spring to Gaithersburg, who changed the address only, who changed address and the name, everything, who changed party affiliation. All those changes have to be recorded.
Okay, so that's 20,000 is not new registered voters? How many are, how do we get that information?
Monthly statistics.
And is that online or is that?
It is,
It's on the
everything is
website.
online. You can follow through the link that is in the.
Because I thought you always had to come up here and purchase the list. You're saying it's
That's
online now?
what you're purchasing, ma'am, is the list of total registered voters in the county, which is 680,000. You are purchasing their voter ID, their locations, their polling places, their party affiliation, and you are purchasing their voting history. Not for whom they voted, but whether they voted or not last 5 cycles.
No, I understand that because
Yeah.
I've gone that process. So I'm trying to figure out what you have online that's available and how that links to that. Because what I always had an issue with as a candidate, it depends on when you purchase the list.
That is,
It changes. So I was wondering, is it changing 20,000 every month? So now I should, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I absolutely.
What's the most current information for
So-
a candidate?
The list that you are purchasing, that we provide on USB sticks, that includes this comprehensive set of data, is pulled on a first of the current month for the previous month. So you will never have exactly up to date.
No, I
Because
understand that it
that's-
changes daily.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out as a
Abs-
candidate, when's the best time for candidate to get that list? The best list that would include everything.
Yeah, I can only tell you that the legally any request for this type of list that is submitted after advanced voter registration closes, we cannot accommodate.
I didn't understand that.
So advanced voter registration deadline is April 23rd. And I believe, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, any request that we receive by that date to provide this data, we will do it. Beyond the data, we are legally
I
not
get
allowed.
that. I understand that. There's
Yeah,
a
no-
cutoff date.
Yeah, cutoff
I-
date, we are not allowed
got
to
it.
share it anymore.
So one other comment I wanted to make when you all were talking about, I think Mr. Malby talked something about complaints at the voting sites. I've had a couple of people tell me that they had a check-in judge tell them they couldn't vote because they had an absentee ballot, in the polling, and they left. I said, why didn't you see the chief judge? Because you could vote provisional. What I'm saying, we all know this and the workers know this, but I think there was bad training maybe there. I think it was a new check-in judge. I was appalled to hear that this person went home because they said, you can't vote. And I said, what are you talking about? Of course you can vote.
When you
So,
get something like that, the best thing would be.
oh, I know what,
No, let me just, it may not be what you think I'm gonna say. Reach out to us. Because you may, because if there is a systemic problem, if it's not just, a one-time thing, we want to make sure that we correct that.
and I'm
Yeah.
just saying, this person didn't know that. I wasn't there. This was after the fact, when we're talking about election, we said, no, everybody gets to vote. No one's ever turned down. So I'm just saying that the training is the most important. I said, I think what happened is you had probably one of those people who were last minute, you all were short. You had someone that didn't know, or they didn't take the training serious, and they made a mistake. I mean, mistakes happen. I'm just saying it does happen. And I like that he brought that question up, but training, as you all know, is the most important thing. And I know that you go to the chief judge. I was a chief judge. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll just remind you all that it would be great if,
help us recruit people so that we don't do it at the last minute. So that we can get people trained appropriately, et cetera. Okay.
David, may I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
And Boris and Janet may correct me, but I think that if you show up with your vote by mail ballot, we take your vote by mail ballot.
Yes, we can collect the vote by mail ballot if someone has completed it. If somebody has not completed it or did not receive it, that's a different story. I don't know.
True.
I don't know whether Brigida's story was that or whether it was someone who actually had the ballot in hand but didn't, either didn't want to use it or for whatever reason wanted to vote in person. But in order to prevent people from both voting by mail and in person, then that's part of why we have the whole provisional process, as you know. Can we promote on my computer? It says Sarah E. Brown 1. She has patiently had her hand up for a long time. I'd like to make it possible for her to ask her question. I am not aware of anyone else who has their hand up for a question. So unless I see okay, after Ms. Brown. And thank you, Lisa, because I have not yet grown the eyes behind my head, but although you'd think I could just look at my camera and I'd be able to, to do that. And of course, if we are reaching out to Ms. Brown and she is not responding, okay, just to remind everybody, if you do have a question, if you're online, in order to get it so that we can hear you, you're going to get a message from the organizer of this Zoom who is going to ask you to click to say that you do want to be promoted as a panelist. That will put you with us and allow us to hear you. And it looks like that may have just happened. Let me see. Okay, Ms. Brown, you are now on as a panelist. If you'd be willing to turn on your camera, that would be great. And if you would unmute yourself and ask your question, please go ahead. We can see you. Excellent. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. 2 years ago, I was a provisional judge, and I enjoyed it. I really that's my kind of people. I really enjoyed it. And what I would have really liked to have had happen is the Montgomery County would have sent me a little note saying, "Hey, would you like to continue to be a judge in the future?" And I would have checked, sure. Then what I would have liked to have had happen is sometime around about November or December, I would have got a notice in the mail saying, "Hey, would you still like to be a judge?" And I would have said, sure. And then I would have, gone on and I would have got another little notice from the Montgomery County saying, "Hey, guess what? You've got to take this training or sign up." I would have done that. You got to take this training, sign up for that, take it. Then I would have gotten a little message saying, "You got to take this quiz." And I would have said, sure. And I would have taken the quiz. And then I would have gotten a little message saying, "Hey, now you got to take in-class training, sign up here. And here's your selections." And I would have signed up for one and I would have gone down to the training. I would have been ready to rock and roll. The problem is none of that happened. I had to pull all that. I had to make phone calls, repeated phone calls on and on and on each stage. Fortunately, somebody told me, a really nice person, excuse me, a really nice person on the phone said, "Sarah, did you know you had to take the quiz?" I said, "Well, I didn't really understand that I did because I've already been a judge." She said, no, we're resetting everything. You got to take the quiz." I said, cool. Next day I took the quiz, I aced it, and I went on about my business. And then I had to call back to find when the training was going to happen. I had to call them to find out when the training's going to occur. Now I don't have to. You're smart people. You're getting the drift of how this is going. I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm a volunteer. You should tell me these things, right? And what I would expect for you to expect from me is to study real hard on how to be a provisional judge so I can do the best I can to help people when I sit down there and take all their complaints and solve them. But that's not what's happening. I'm doing all the work here and it's not working. Now you can say, well, we've got this great website and we've got this, and we've got that, and we've got the other. I don't care. I'm not getting any information from you directing me where to go. So it's just a thought. This is perhaps how you might change your way of approaching people to make them work. And maybe you wouldn't have this deficit of people. And the last thing I would say is, I don't know why you're not going to the roles of people that have already been judges, because they bring the experience and there is a probability that they would want to do what you want them to do. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown. First, let me say thank you for being a provisional judge for us. And it's not too late if you are still interested in serving for this election.
I'm already signed up. I'm already done. I'm ready to go.
Okay, that's great. But I appreciate that. I want to divide what you said into two parts. Okay, the part that relates to you specifically getting or not getting reminders from us and all of that, I'd rather that you and our staff talk offline and try and figure out exactly what happened in your specific situation. I'm going to ask Boris, our election director, to talk about how the system should work. And what we would have expected would have been the case. And then, like I said, we can talk to you separately about if there are any respects in which the system should have worked but did not work for you, because there's a whole bunch of factors that go into that, and I don't know that we want to talk about one individual case to the whole world here. But so, Boris, I defer to you.
Yeah, I'll just touch upon a few issues so anyone who is listening today would know what to expect if they try, and we would like them to sign up to be election worker with Montgomery County. We did kick off recruitment with multiple emails sent out to anyone, not only who served, but whoever applied to be election worker in Montgomery County. Our board member is on the list. She got those emails that went out on February 7th. I really don't know exactly and I will find out, as David mentioned offline, what happened with the communication towards you, but emails went out to 23,000 email addresses of anyone who signed up or considered to be election worker in 2018, 2020, 2022, and modern now. But the second question is just to manage expectations for everyone who is listening to us and who would like to sign up to be election judge. Yes, we do sign up through the portal on our website, which gives control to our volunteers to do things in their own pace. And when it comes to signing up to the in-person training, that is literally designed to accommodate our voters to adjust, to select the training option that best meets their schedule. Therefore, we have trainings at the evenings, on Saturdays, on Sundays, on multiple locations throughout the county. So, as I said in the beginning, we set dates and times and locations of the trainings and the capacity, and anyone who takes the quiz, passes the quiz, can choose which day, what time, what location to best meet their schedule. This is just for the general public, so we all understand what Montgomery County does to accommodate our voters to go through this experience in the easiest possible way. But we will certainly follow up with you after the meeting with anything that might have could or should have been addressed maybe differently. But I'm pretty sure that kickoff emails that went out to everyone included absolutely everyone who served or who considered to be election worker in previous elections. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brown, thank you very much. We will follow up about your specific case, but and Boris, thank you for that explanation. Go ahead. This will be our last question of this period, and then we'll move on in our agenda.
Hello, everyone. I think you know me. I'm Ann Hinkston. I am with the Republican Central Committee. I'm actually the organization chair. And I have spent long hours in early voting outside polling places and helping others. And I have a question about the environment that we're having this election in. You know, as you may have heard today, the Golden Gate Bridge was closed down by protesters. Do we anticipate security concerns outside polling places? I'm just asking. And if so, who do we contact? I mean, you know, the judges are inside, so you can run inside, I guess, but I don't know if you've had any notices of any potential problems.
Let me take a stab. First of all, you can always call us, members of the board. If you don't have my number, I'll give it to you. You can, you know, any of us, or Kevin, will certainly, you know, if there are specific concerns as opposed to generalized ones. I think that there are a lot of people of varying political stripes who are very concerned about the atmosphere for this election. And I know we are somewhat constrained in what we can say about our security measures in order to maintain the you know, those security measures, because you never want to give people the key to the, you know, to the lock, so to speak. So I do know that Boris and Kevin and the staff have been working on this issue. I do know that we are very aware of the atmosphere that you are describing. I personally remember, you know, hearing about people getting in your face during one of the past elections, and we talked about that, and I'm sure you heard me say I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to anybody, regardless of what their political views are, whether whether I share their views, whether I don't share their views. I mean, anything that we can do to assure peace at the poll, you know, we would like to do. And I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody at this table, you know, when I say that. Boris and Kevin, is there anything more that you can say without, you know, upsetting our security situation?
Okay, so very briefly, I would like, when it comes to the security and discussing security considerations and preparation, I would like to leave it where David got to the point. So that is part of the overall process, and everyone is reading newspapers, follow the media and everything else. I just would like to emphasize that today's meeting, the group of people at today's meeting, the questions that are being asked, answers that are being provided, promises of further communication that are being made. This is our response to make those possible situations a bit lighter, because we would like to address them ahead of time. So any question that anyone is upset with in any way, please send them to us. We will do our best to answer the question, provide information to the best of our ability. And I believe that there are a few things that maybe could be addressed, discussed ahead of the elections, so we have elections as administered as properly as the majority or all the county voters would like to see.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I wasn't gonna address any, rest assured, security is of utmost importance and it is being addressed. We can't get into the specifics of it. And obviously, depending upon what you are presented with, if you are presented with something that is of immediate harm, you should call the police. If it is someone being not particularly civil, you should call the Board of Elections. We will send someone out there to address the situation.
I see one hand up that I know about already, which is that Senator Kagan would like to speak with us about legislation. Boris and board, if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is instead of going in order on the agenda, if we could do the legislation update next, that would be helpful. And Boris, I'm going to ask you whether it would be your preference that we hear from Senator Kagan first. Okay. So, Senator Kagan, you've been promoted to panelist. I can see you, and welcome. I don't want to steal your thunder, so I suppose I'm not supposed to congratulate you on the things that passed, but I may have things to say about them after you do, because, like I said, I don't want to steal your thunder. But we appreciate your strong interest in our work. I haven't kept track of your attendance record at our meetings, but it's obviously you've been at many of our meetings, and we appreciate that. We appreciate what you're doing in Annapolis to keep everybody focused on making elections run as smoothly as possible. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, David. Mr. Chair, thank you. Boris, congratulations again to the newbies and to those of you who are continuing and returning. And Kevin, thank you for all that you and the whole Montgomery County Board staff do. So I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. I am vice chair of the committee that does all the state election stuff. And before I go into very briefly the 11 bills that I sponsored this year, I wanted to say that our own Jim Shallek has been nominated by the governor for a recess appointment as one of the 2 Republican members of the State Board of Elections. And while I am sad that it means that Bill Velp, who's been a wonderful chair and is vice chair now, while it means that Jim will succeed him and sort of push him out of the way, unfortunately, I think Jim's experience here in Montgomery County make him very well suited to bring a common sense Republican perspective. The other Republican, unfortunately, Diane and others, you perhaps know that I spoke out against her. I did a lot of research after Carlos Ayala turns out to have been at the insurrection, was arrested by the FBI after 3 years of research and investigations. So the state board is only 5 members. It's 3 of the majority party and 2 of the minority party. So every seat is critically important. And we've got to have people of the caliber of each of you all. And so I am hopeful that that this 5 will work together. So the other thing before I start with my own stuff, David, as you know, I worked on threats against election workers as a legislator. This year, the governor stole my bill, but it's always an honor to have the governor steal your bill because it's pretty likely to pass. It has already been signed into law. It is an emergency bill, and I made sure that in my committee, we've made the broadest possible definition of election workers. So it's board members, it's staff, it's canvassers. It's not the people who are out saying, vote for, Susie. It's not those folks, but it's just about anyone else picking up at the drop-off boxes, anyone connected as a board or as a worker. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We will have some suggestions for you for next year. on that bill for potentially for broadening it, but I won't take up time today with that since that is next year.
Okay, all right. I'm still recuperating from this year, to be clear. I'm still exhausted.
Understood. I just didn't want the record to reflect that we were
Okay.
just that we were not still coming back for other things. So.
Sure, sure. As you are wont to do, my dear David Naiman. So I'm going to go through most of these pretty quickly. If you have questions about any of them, I'm going to go a little deeper on some of them, but I'm just really going to go fast. Exploratory and draft committees are totally unregulated. There is not enough transparency, enough limitations. I could say I'm considering running for governor. You could give me $1 million. I could buy a yacht, and all of that is legal, and none of that gets disclosed. That has passed the past 2 years in the Senate and died in the House. Special elections is something that voters believe that we should be electing our legislators and not selecting them through party leaders. The Senate president came out for it. My bill passed the Senate. It died in the House. So unfortunately, whether it's in District 16 with Senator Ariana Kelly, who has resigned and will be leaving the Senate, assuming her successor is a delegate, then there is also going to be an appointment for delegate. It's just this slippery slope, and about 20 to 25% of the General Assembly has now been appointed for the first time before elected. I don't think that's democracy in the best way. My recount bill did pass in the final minutes, and this was an emergency bill to make sure that we updated our law books to reflect the technology that we're also doing, as well as what Boris described, the internet delivered ballots, which are terrible, time-consuming, and expensive. They were not in the law book, so we had to include those and how to deal with those during recounts. And we know in Montgomery County in 2018 and in 2022, our county executive race was so close, and there were other close races as well, but we had to have recounts. We have to make sure that that goes smoothly. David, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did want to say, I wanted to thank you for that bill, and I also wanted to thank you for encouraging me to testify on that bill. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that when you talk about how we had close elections in 2018 and 2022, and we consider ourselves at this point to be experts in recounts, given we had 2 recounts in 2018 and 1 in 2022, and we had a countywide recount in both cases. What the bill calls for is essentially a codification.
David, I'm sorry. So I am taping. I have a podcast called.
I understand, Senator. I'm literally like 20 words away from finishing. What the bill calls for is what we have already done. And so what we are glad about for this bill is that it now expands it to other counties in Maryland who don't necessarily keep the original ballots with the duplicates. We've been doing that as long as I've been on the board. So I just wanted to say thank you for making sure that that's now in the law books, and that is now something that the entire state will be doing, and not just Montgomery County.
Yes. And David, thank you for your leadership on that. And just to be clear, it's not in the law books yet. It's an emergency bill. As soon as the governor signs it, it becomes law, but he did not sign it this week. So they just did mostly administration bills and the election threats and the port bill, stuff like that. Moving on. So I was saying that I am interviewing every candidate for the 6th congressional district in my kibitzing with Kagan. And so I'm wedging them in. So my next candidate is coming up shortly. Election expenses, when does the state pay? When does the county pay? That needs to be clarified and updated. We've done it in piecemeal over the years. Scam packs, we have been warned by the FBI, literally, and the Federal Election Commission that there are phony baloney actors who raise money. They say it's for this, that, or the other political cause or party, and then they keep the money themselves, or they give it to their brother who's an accountant, and they say your accounting work is worth $1 million or something. So that passed the Senate unanimously, died in the House in Ways and Means. Ways and Means Committee killed a lot of good election bills this year. Election judge recruitment, which is what you have heard talk about a lot. It's critically important. We have been, Gilberto, we are roughly 14,000 judges short in our state. And so working with Delegate Palakovich-Carr, we were able to pass, and it will be signed into law, a bill that says if you are on unemployment, you're looking for a job and you're getting unemployment benefits, that you can work as an election judge during early voting or on election day, and that revenue, that salary that you get will not count against your unemployment benefits, which I think is brilliant. It was not my idea. I will give the credit to Delegate Palakovich-Carr. I think it makes such common sense. So if you know anyone who's looking for a job, who's on unemployment, they can work at election day and make a few more bucks to support their family. Ranked choice voting, I continue to work on. That did not move this year. Electoral college, you know about in other states, there were fake elector slates. I worked with a delegate and that did pass, and that was an emergency bill, making sure that there is a very clear process as to how the elections get certified and how the electoral votes get counted and transmitted. Simplified ballot language, I have brought this twice. I have gotten it out of the Senate. And that is just making sure that we're not putting gobbledygook on the ballot that no one understands. We in Montgomery County have a lot of people for whom English is not their native language. When we give them legalese, even native English born, English speakers find them confusing. And so my bill said at a 6th grade level, it should just be plain English. 22 states have now passed it. And again, got it out of the Senate. It died in Ways and Means, petty political stuff. And I said, if you don't like 6th grade, do 8th grade, 10th grade, just say plain English. A lot of states have done it differently. I would very much like to pass that next year. And then the last one is internet delivered ballots. We wanted to do a study because I think it's part of the big problem of a doubling of provisional ballots, because the system, the reality, and I can't remember whether it was Boris or David who said it, but the fact that you have to have a computer, you have to have a printer, you have to have toner cartridge, you have to have a number 10 envelope, you have to have a post, stamp unless you use a drop off. All of the things make it harder. And as I said in hearings, too many hearings, and on the Senate floor, that's just the beginning of the challenge. That's what it is for the voters. But then all the duplication and all the vulnerability, even though there aren't errors, that it's a lot of time, a lot of cost. And so, and I think a lot of people give up. And so they come in and they end up getting a provisional ballot. Ballot access is something I got out of committee for the first time with the Senate President's blessing. And that allows unaffiliated voters, who are the fastest growing portion of our electorate, unaffiliated voters to come in during early voting, and would allow them to re-register and vote a partisan ballot. It does not make sense to me that someone who just moved to Maryland, last year gets to come in, register, affiliate, and vote a full partisan ballot. And someone who might have lived here their whole life but has been unaffiliate, never pay attention, and then then there was a primary they cared about a lot, and they are given a ballot for school board. That never made sense to me. But it moved farther this year, but it did not make it all the way. So that is the very quick run through of a bunch of things. Those were mostly my bills. We did pass a bunch of other election bills, and there were a bunch of good bills that died. So we will continue to work on these issues, and I definitely appreciate hearing from you. So David has, as he said, he has come to Annapolis. He has testified on behalf of the board, or not on behalf of the board, as an individual, but with his knowledge and expertise. And happy to welcome any of you in conversation on Zoom or on phone or whatever. I will be starting to work on legislation again in the coming months for next year. Happy to take any questions. And thank you again, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to share.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kagan. Are there any questions for Senator Kagan? Okay, seeing none. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you again soon.
Good. Take care, guys.
Okay. Boris, do you want to talk about legislation at this point, or do you want to go back to the agenda? I'm okay either way.
If you don't mind.
Oh, sorry.
I think that Senator Shalkin successfully covered most of the legislation that got passed. And I would just like to add maybe a few comments so we can finish with this part of the agenda. So document is shared with the board, with the public. It's available on our website. We try to follow any election-related legislation that was presented to the assembly. If you go to that document, you will see everything that's published in the blue font are the bills actually that got passed by both chambers. Some of them have been signed by the governor already, some were not. So I'll just go very briefly for the record. House Bill 261. This is exactly the bill that the Senator Cheryl Keegan was talking about, that election judge pay without impact the unemployment benefits.
And I want to thank Delegate Vlahovic Carr for that inspired idea. You know, because that, I know Senator Kagan sponsored it in the Senate, but Delegate Vlahovic Carr was actually the one who developed that idea. It now means that someone who is on unemployment can work for us and get their unemployment at this.
Yeah, it untaxed, like it did not reduce or anything, so doesn't affect it. The second one is House Bill 333. It's election misinformation and election disinformation. The bill requires the state board to run a portal that will allow citizens to report any instances where they believe that information or disinformation is taking place, and it gives instruction to the state board what to do through periodic review and reporting to the state attorney if there is anything to be reported. So as I said, I'll just go very briefly. Election recounts, House Bill 371. This is the bill that both Cheryl Keegan, Senator Keegan and David spoke about, and it codifies the Montgomery County procedure of storing duplicate and original ballots in batches for the recount.
So let me just add to that, at the last minute, I worked very hard to make sure that the legislation treated in all recounts, allowed for us to take voter intent into consideration. It was an interpretation of the amendment that they had done that would have made it so that in a hand count, we would have a question as to whether we could take the voters' intent into consideration. They made a change that now means that for all recounts, voter intent will be taken into consideration. So it was a very important amendment that we were happy to get accomplished.
So let me go. House Bill 585. We get the first one from it. Protecting election officials. This is the bill that Senator Cheryl Keegan was talking about. This is the bill that myself and the team members went to Annapolis to be present when the signing took place. House Bill 700. This is the bill that gives mandates the State Board of Elections to develop a marketing campaign to attract election workers to sign up to serve. This bill also adds a bit of clarity to something that was kind of in the air since the last session. Who is a returning judge that qualifies for $100 bonus? And this bill stipulates that anyone who served the last cycle before the current one. So it's not that doesn't go 10 years back, just goes for one cycle in the back. Senate Bill 271. It's mandating officials responsible for public premises to grant those premises to the board to be used for the early voting or election day. Introduce the appeal process that those officers can use, and give certain deadlines that I still have to admit have to look into it, because I know that the initial version had a deadline that would require us to approve early voting sites like in January of 25 or 26, but I have to go back and look, because it's possible that I didn't follow the dates properly. Disclosure requirements, I'll leave that to the state. Senate Bill 417 provides that the state election administrator will do my performance evaluation once a year, that will communicate with the board, and that the state election administrator can seek feedback from anyone that I communicate with in performing my duties, and also gives sets a requirement for the board to to confer with the state administrator before appointing election director, so. And the Senate Bill 480 is again protecting election officials. So this was just very briefly, as I said, we did follow the legislation this year. It got, as Senator Keegan rightly mentioned, last week was very busy in Annapolis. It was very busy here. So we will go through all the legislation, see to which parts of our work is impacted. I believe this notion that only election judges who served in 2022 will get $100 bonus, for example, going forward. I have to see what's the start date of the bill. It's something that Gilberto would need for his outreach. So we will have to maybe adjust our marketing materials or something like that. But again, a bit more study required, but I just wanted to say that assembly is wrapped up. These are the bills that went through. Everything is available. More reading to come.
A couple of things that I'd like to add. First of all, Senator Kagan is not the only legislator who's been working with us on these bills. Our committee chair, Brian Feldman, has been listening to what we have to say. Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who's the vice chair of House Ways and Means, has also been listening to what we have to say. And on the election threat bill, we even were in communication with the House Judiciary Committee because that bill, because it has a criminal provision, that bill did not go to Ways and Means, it went to House Judiciary. So we work with a number of legislators in Annapolis, and obviously that's very important for us on, for whatever comes up. Boris did not mention one particular bill that I want to mention, which is that the bill that I think Senator Kagan referred to it as dealing with the Electoral College, but it also deals with the schedule for the canvass. And what it does that's relevant to us is that it moves the state Board of Canvassers meeting for certifying the election from being required to be held 35 days after the election, which would be 5 weeks, to 30 days after the election. So it takes 5 days away. And it also means that we have to be done a few days before that in order for our information to be transmitted to the state in a timely way. I haven't yet figured out on the calendar how that will affect everything. It might mean that my dream of having the Board of Education change its swearing-in date may be irrelevant at this point, depending on how that, how that works out in terms of the 30 days. I personally would want to buy us more time, but at the moment we've been given a little bit less. Now, for us to be done within 4 weeks of election day is roughly what we do. So if we can build in some additional efficiencies, and I realize that I'm asking, we already accomplished the impossible now, but it may be that we have to do it a little bit faster. And if we do, and if you suddenly notice that we are having more meetings on more days of the week in November, and that we're meeting on the day after Thanksgiving, and that we're, that we're doing more, that's the reason. It is not because of my great desire to force all of you for us to all spend Thanksgiving together, but I just wanted to alert you all to that particular legislative change, which I don't remember whether it's already been signed or not, but it did pass both houses.
Is it on this list?
It is on that list. It is, I believe it is House Bill 471. It is literally, strike 35 and insert 30. So it's a small provision in a larger bill, but it does put the screws to us a little bit by by making that period somewhat shorter. So
did you make it clear to the sponsor that was ill advised?
It's not.
Seriously.
I'll explain. I did not. I did not. I did not have input into that particular piece of legislation. I suspect that the most effective way for us to make that point is to invite people to our canvas and to give them a sense as to what's involved, and to keep them posted
And also to make sure that the state election director is very aware of the pressure that it puts on us to, to do this. Now, there was a change in the federal, the Electoral Count Reform Act, I think it's called, did make a change to the deadlines for transmitting state results to the federal government in a presidential election year. But this bill is not just in presidential election years. This bill is in gubernatorial years as well. So some of the changes were probably required by the federal law, which made it hard for me to argue it. But in the gubernatorial years, we don't have such a law. And so I think it really, if we want to make a change for gubernatorial years, the time to do it is 2025. And I think we have to get some data from 2024 in order to do that. So, anyway, sorry to be the bearer of such good news. And I'm sure that the attorney report is only going to be good news. So it's going to be short. Okay, Kevin.
So Boris and I and Mindy have worked on the MOUs and lease agreements for early voting drop boxes and election day and the canvas. Those have all been signed and are locked in place. So that's one issue. The other issue is that I told you a while ago that the Gibson case raised a challenge regarding the 2020 election results and some list maintenance issues. And that case is pending in the Fourth Circuit now. It's been fully briefed. It's still unclear whether the Fourth Circuit's going to have a 3-judge panel hear the case or they're just going to issue an opinion. But that remains pending. And now there has been a second suit that's been filed regarding issues concerning the 2022 election. That is sort of at the preliminary stages of the process. The problem for the local boards and for the Board of Elections is, although the local boards are not defendants to that case because it involves information maintained by the local boards, a litigation hold has been issued by the Attorney General's office for 2020 and now 2022. As a general rule, after 22 months, we would be disposing of this election-related material. So from a practical standpoint, it's causing a major space problem because of the storage issues of not only the physical election material, but as we were talking about earlier, all the video that's kept for 24/7 for 22 months. We're now maintaining it much longer than was otherwise required by federal law. And so that's causing some issues for our election director that he's sure probably happy to talk about.
Just, sorry. Space is an issue, physical space to store all the ballots, store all the envelopes and everything is returned. I would just like to say that addressing some of digital space needs would require some expenses that might be presented to the board, because whomever we ask to retain beyond certain initially agreed time period, they would require or they would need help in order to create a digital archive big or space big to store those recordings. So it has operational problems. It will have financial impact going forward, and we might be in a very tight place to pull it up.
And I do not have anything else.
Any questions for Kevin? Okay, is there any old business? Okay, Boris, website report.
Okay, website report. I think that I tried to put 3 months together data to show that the January, February, March from right to the left. I think that we have reached the peak that we are this far out of the elections. I'm kind of curious to see how the April will look like. what is kind of reassuring for me that for the second month in a row, anything election workers related dominates the web pages that are visited by our voters. So I just feel like we spoke earlier today that our voters return their ballots late. I still hope that they will sign up to be election workers late, which will create problem for Janet that we will address when we get to that point, if we get to that point. But I believe it's a good thing that election workers' interest dominates the website. Number of users is still high. We are over 60,000 2 months in a row, and I think that's the place where we would like to stay going forward through elections. Again, we don't have this data from the previous elections. We are building our own data sets that we'll be able to compare one elections to another. As I said to the board, we have to be patient. We are pulling data monthly. So this will be our planning tool for elections to come.
Well, I want to say, Boris, that I know that I appreciate, and I think we appreciate the data that you are providing. It gives us a much better sense as to what's happening there. Thank you for that. Any questions for Boris about the website? Go ahead, Margie.
Okay, thank you. So my question is not really tied to the website, but it's kind of tied to the election judges. Is there a specific cutoff date for people to sign up for the primary and for the general?
So you can sign all the time. The question for the primary becomes is at some point we will run out of time to train you and to assign you to the polling place available. However, we will still like you to sign up and consider serving in the general elections.
Okay.
We would like to have your name, your contacts as someone who is interested for the future elections. We would, as I mentioned to Ms. Sarah, who made some notes about not being contacted. We would like in 2026 to email you, hey, we need election workers again. So please, whoever wants, sign whenever. If the time allows, we would like you to serve for the primaries. If not, serve in the general, or please be in our database so we can reach out to you.
Thank you, Boris, and thank you, Margie. Anything else on the website? Not, I believe that the legislation update is next, and we've already done that. So is Gilberto able to join us? Yes, okay. Because I know that he has another meeting. So I appreciate, Gilberto, your ability to be in more than one place at the same time.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Please, yes, make sure that you're on.
Right, thank you. Pleasure. So gratitude to all the board members and community advocates and stakeholders around the county and the state. We are kind of closing in on outreach and engagement, obviously, because we're turning a corner to early voting, voting by mail, ensuring we're communicating the 3 ways to vote, and also as it pertains to future vote recruitment and training of our future, hopefully, poll workers, as they're those who are 15 and under. To piggyback on Margie's question, there's also a push with our high schoolers who have an interest in serving as a poll worker, especially that we need their John Hancock signature on file if they're registering to vote. So we're leveraging the ballot drop boxes for those high school students to say, if you want to serve, you need to be registered, you need to submit your election worker application. And since you are a minor, the permission slip. So your high school, I'm pretty sure, has a drop box. If you're an MCPS, leverage those 3 forms, drop them in, send us an email, and we'll make sure to piggy bank and tag team with Michelle and Lolita to retrieve those forms. So we're getting forms daily from those students, and we're telling them we'll do our best to get you registered and then get you into the pipeline to do the quiz and to attend in-person training. If you happen to be a sophomore or a junior that's 16 years of age, then we will leverage you for the general election when you move up, hopefully a grade. But if you are a senior, and if you're local, you're more than welcome to also serve. But depending on what you're doing in college or MC, or you go into the military or the workforce, We don't know, but at the same time, you're more than welcome to come and assist us, whether it's the general election or down the line when you become a young adult, if you return to the. Exactly. So other than that, fruitful endeavors. I welcome the community to also send invitations for the spring and summer, even after the primary elections. We want to get them on the calendar and coordinate their resources accordingly. We're looking at those events that we historically attend during the summer and early fall as we lead up to the general election. That's pretty much my overview for outreach.
I just want to thank you. It seems that some of our event sponsors, like some of our voters, do things at the last minute. And you have been very flexible about helping with that, whether it's you or somebody in your place. And it's very much appreciated because I think it's important for us to be at these events, whether or not the event sponsors think of this far in advance. And so thank you for that.
Our pleasure. It's a team effort all around.
So, anyone else with any comments or questions? Daniel. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. It was right in front of my face.
That's okay. That's okay, Mr. President. Again, I want to thank Dr. Z for he and I were at a meeting last week. Yeah, it was last week. It was on Friday or Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday.
All blended
Yeah,
together.
but I just want to recognize it was a county meeting, meeting with one of the advisory boards in the county, and he's not only in terms of scheduled that meeting, attended the meeting, made an amazing presentation. But the reason why I want to recognize it was proactively, there was somebody there who had an event at a church, and Dr. Z went there and took a picture of that event, and he scheduled to be there. I mean, to me, for a staff to be there, to me, I think that's the atmosphere we want to create, right? How do we get more people? And I can assure you, he made it very clear that we're looking for more Republican volunteers, and I was happy he did that because it really showed in terms of the bipartisanship in which we all work, but also especially the staff. Of course, that meeting was actually hosted by Kina, who is one of our board members as well. So I know her and Dr. Z made a lot of in terms of arrangement for that to happen. So I just again want to publicly recognize you for the steps that you took to reach out to Rosemary, who was actually she attended our meeting today. So I just want you to know that you're making an impact. Well, you've been always making an impact, but thank you for making an impact on that individual on Thursday.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Kina.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I echo a lot of the same sentiments you just shared by Dr. Z. Thank you so much for attending that meeting last week. What particularly stood out for me for that meeting was your attentiveness to questions regarding first-time voters who come from immigrant backgrounds. There are so many of those in our county from different diasporas, but of course you spoke that Thursday to those of the African diaspora, and I greatly appreciate your attention to detail. Thank you. Your attention to detail and your patience as people, peppered you with questions about not only how to vote, but also how to serve and how to show up for elections. And so for anyone who is looking to book your time with Dr. Z, I can tell you right now that is well worth it. Also, please be in mind, he is very busy between now and April. So we just barely made the cuts for the point of May, April, but we're very, very, very appreciative for what he was able to provide to us.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Kina. Anything else for Gilberto? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Just quickly to report to Diane, they're working on updating the year on the texting prompt, and we'll look into why it reverted to 2022 when it was 2024, clearly. But they're working on that.
It also came under general election.
We're looking at both
cool?
English and
Okay.
Spanish. Yep. So for whatever reason, it just reverted back
Got
to
it.
2022. But
Yeah.
we tested the texting prompt, the address, like Google.
Yeah,
maps
the
worked,
important
et cetera.
stuff worked.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
Okay.
just a date. Didn't know why it
Great.
reverted back to 2022 and the
Thanks.
general.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Kina, I'm assuming that you just need to lower your hand unless you have something else you wanted to say. I'm going to move on to new business, and I'm actually going to make this motion, but I'm going to explain it first. The law requires the board to appoint election workers for this election. The law, of course, um, is anomalous in some ways. One of them is that we obviously don't know the 2,000 some people who already qualified, and I mean we may know a few of them, but you know we don't know a lot. You know, there's many of them that we don't know, and not only that, but we want to make very clear to everyone around that this is not the end. This is, you know, we want people to sign up between now and election day. So the solution to that is that I'm going to, I will read my motion, but basically I'm going to move to delegate that responsibility to Boris as the election director, so that he can make changes literally up till the last minute if necessary, move people around if he needs to, and doesn't need our vote in order to do that. The board has never really gotten on that level of detail in terms of you know, oh, we want to put this person in this place. Nor do I think we should. But you know, anyway. So I move pursuant to section 10203A of the election law article that the board delegate to the election director, Mr. Boris Brajkovic, the authority to appoint and assign election judges for the 2024 primary and general election cycle.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and by myself, seconded by Diane. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, is the delegation sort of authorized by that section that you cited in the code?
The section of the code, as I understand it, does not explicitly say that a delegation is possible. I am relying on our counsel who suggested this as a possibility. I know from my day job that delegations happen all the time without express authority to delegate. But if you want a legal brief on that, we could probably.
No, it's just that precisely the opposite holds true with the agency for which I work.
Well, it sounds like the agency for which you work has a control issue. But
Well, we'll talk about that later, Mr.
Yes.
You think?
I'm not naming any names, but
Nor will I.
yes. But and I want to make very clear, I am not talking about anyone sitting at this table. I'm talking about we're talking agencies and agencies.
Very helpful clarification.
Yes. So anyway, okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, just raise your hands. And Kina has her hand up as well, so it is unanimous. So Boris, I know that you will keep us posted to the extent appropriate, and I appreciate that. Next is future action items from today's meeting.
I did it right.
The only thing that I can think of is that you are going to consult with Ms. Brown about what happened with her situation, because there's obviously a disconnect between what we think should have happened and what she thinks happened. And so I'm not saying what did and didn't happen, but hopefully you guys can figure that out. And make sure that in the future, obviously, we want everybody to get all of those great follow-up messages that we're talking about. And obviously, anything the board can do to help, we would like to do that. Any other, I mean, obviously there's lots of future actions because we're about to have Canvas in a week. We're about to, no one is lacking for things to do, but I don't think that we necessarily provided a lot of new things to do in today's meeting. Other than the delegation we just did first that he pretty much already had, or at least that we would have given him. So anyway, okay. So then we move on to the approval of the March. I sent around some minor corrections. Alex? Okay, my editing was not earlier today, but whatever the case, thank you for that. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Okay, future meetings. Our canvas begins Monday, a week from today at 10 a.m. I think everyone knows where it is, but if you don't, we will certainly will help you find it. It's Montgomery College, Germantown campus. The Biosciences Education Building is the same place where we were sworn in. It's the same place where we had canvas in the last election. Please do your best, and I'm talking to myself as much of you, to be on time because we need a quorum in order to start the meeting. At our first meeting, there will be a brief opportunity for everyone to make remarks, but we do want to make sure we get to the ballot, and then obviously we will all stay in touch in terms of what the schedule will be, which will be very much dependent on what the ballot situation is for all of us. We do have our regularly scheduled meeting scheduled for Monday, May the 20th. Depending on what happens between now and then, we will figure out how that works out. If we do have a need for a regular meeting, I think it's good practice to try to have it on our normal day. But obviously we want to be sensitive to whatever is happening in the canvas. If we need that as canvas time, we'll certainly do that. Any questions about our future meeting? I haven't gotten that far, Alex. I would say that I would want to consult with Kevin and Boris before I answer that question. I think I know that. I'll put it to you this way. I know that everyone will be desirous of having whatever breaks we can provide after we will spend as many days together as we all will be for both for the canvas for the primary and the canvas for the general. And not to mention that I want our staff to have opportunity for vacation. But I do want to talk with Boris and Kevin and obviously all of you to, if folks have thoughts about that. It probably also has something to do with whether there are petitions to be processed at that time, which I don't think we control necessarily because it may depend on when they are submitted, because there is a legal deadline as to how quickly they have to be processed. Do I have that right, Kevin? We may not be in a position to figure that out quite yet, but I will certainly, keep everybody posted about that. Anything else? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.